Good morning. Grab a sip of coffee here. Good morning, everyone. Hi, it's Stacy. We are loving my veteran, and this is walking in my shoes this morning. I'm gonna get the stuff out. You know, we're not paid counselors, paid professionals. So if you need help, you need to reach out and get it. Um, and again, everything in these videos are copyrighted to loving my veteran and walking in my shoes. So good morning. Today's topic is the trauma to the PTSD brain and other treatment options that are available. We have talked extensively about medications and therapies and some of those kind of things. So today I really want to focus on um, some of the additional alternatives that are out there that are making huge strides in what we do. So there's a lot of that that's out there, and I just want everybody to be able to be aware of those topics and what there is that we do. So I need to first, I think, do a little backstory here in um, the brain without getting into a whole lot of it. When you have PTSD or TBI, there's actually a true injury to the brain. We have to understand that the brain itself, the brain um, stores memories and it processes things. Good morning, Sarah. So think as your brain like a supercomputer, okay? So memories are stored in one place, emotions are stored somewhere else, your response to emotions are stored somewhere else. And when you have a trauma to your brain, whether it is a traumatic brain injury, even PTSD, they are now showing that PTSD creates a change in your brain. So when that happens, we give medications sometimes to help rewire that and resend those transmitters. Or there's a lot of therapies out there now that are actually separating those memories so that they're not, the memories are still there, but the reactions to the memories are not stored in the same place. And so what happens is we are being able to deal with a lot of PTSD now that we understand that the research is understanding um, how that works. So there is a true injury to your brain, whether it is TBI or PTSD, and we're going to really dig into that topic a lot more starting next week. I just think it's something that we need to understand because that's how we get what we need. Morning, everybody. But it is that's how we get the right information. But there are all kinds of other treatments that help, and there are some really good places, and we will put these resources out today. Really good places and really good alternatives to look at. We talked to one of the wives yesterday, last night, actually during our Let's Talk, and she has a new counselor for her personally, and this counselor truly understands the trauma brain. And she said, "What a good morning, Chelsea." She said, "What a trauma." And there's Miss Sunny who can't talk. What a trauma brain is like. When she went to counseling, they explained that difference in that trauma brain, and it was like a light bulb went on for her. So we're really going to kind of delve into that next week about the PTSD and the TBI and how it literally there's a process where everything is stored and how it just kind of jumbles things up. It's kind of like your computer short circuiting itself and it doesn't put all your files where they go. And that's kind of what is happening in these TBIs and in your trauma brain. So it is really important that we understand that. But I'm really, really, really blessed that she found a therapist who specializes in trauma brain. And she said all of a sudden it was like a light bulb went off to her when she realized how her husband was processing this stuff. Okay, so now let's talk about treatments. We all know the normal run-of-the-mill treatment is SSRIs. SSRIs actually slow down, they're a rebuker to the serotonin, and they're supposed to make everything better. And it is a chemical process that allows your brain to kind of slow things down, but it never separates those memories. It just helps them deal with them. That is what the two treatments that are approved by the FDA, that's what they do. Okay, so that is the basis of what they do. They slow down that speed back and forth from point A to point B, where your emotions and your reactions are here, and then you have your memories, and then they go back and forth. It's supposed to slow that down a little bit so that they can understand that it may not be happening to them, and get a better chance to react. That's what an SSRI does, basically. So now, therapy is the same way. We talked about counseling, we talked about therapy. If you don't go and speak with somebody who understands the trauma brain and the chemical and physical process that is going on in your brain, they're treating it like it's an emotional situation, and it is not the same. So somebody has to help you navigate through those differences. And we don't always find that. It is very hard to find. But as advocates, again, we can do some research on those type of things. Morning, Stephanie. We were just talking about one of our wives who went to a therapist that dealt in trauma for herself, but dealt with the trauma brain, and how amazing it was. So I just want to bring you up to speed on that. There are a lot of avenues that are out there that help understand the process. So I'm going to talk about a few real quick that really do help with this. And one of them is called Accelerated Resolution Therapy, or ART. We call it ART. Again, remember I told you that we store things in different places in our head, right? So we can keep the memory intact. And let's just say, for instance, we're talking about a memory where they were in combat and their buddy died. Okay? So they remember them being with their buddy and all the good things when they think about their buddy. Morning, they think about their buddy. They remember all the good things, right? And then they remember the tragedy. And their memory ends with the tragedy. Not that we're ever going to stop that memory, it's always going to be there, but we can stop the emotion to how it felt for the tragedy, because what they're doing is they're not remembering the good times. Their brain is not associating the good times. All it associates to is the tragedy. Okay? So ART reprograms that. ART lets you, instead of when you're thinking about the event or the person, and they don't make you get really into it. They say, okay, what memory do you have that we need to change the way you respond to it? And they don't even have to say it out loud, y'all. It is just something in their head. And how can you create a better ending? Do you want to think about what you did before this event happened? Do you want to rewrite your ending in your response? Do you want to rewrite your ending? And they do that, and they come back through, and there is a way that you think about it, and they move the hands very quickly in front of your eyes, which reproduces REM, which is what we already know. Our veterans spend a lot of time in REM, which helps you store your memories. And so they are basically rewriting their emotional response to that memory. And it's called ART. Warriors Mission at Ease does it. I'll put that link on there. They also do it free to veterans, or on a grant to veterans. This process, this procedure is working 90% of the veterans who are using it. It is working for them. It does it in 1 to 5 sessions, and it can be done virtually. 1 to 5 sessions, and it can be done virtually. 90% success rate. 90% success rate. So that is something that we really need. It replaces that negative imagery with a positive one. Right? So what it does is you still have the memory of the event in its whole, but how your brain responds to that event now separates it out. which is amazing. And for those of us that are not talking about a PTSD moment, like in my case, when my father died, okay, when my father died, it was traumatic for me. It was horrible for me. But I don't dwell on the moment that I was there with my dad when he died. I remember it. I remember it like it was, anytime I think about it, I remember it like it was yesterday. But when I think about my father, I don't think about the tragedy. I think about all the other good times. And that's basically what art does. It allows them to think about the good times. They still know the bad time happened, but they don't dwell on it. They reprogram their head to think about it in the good times, so their response is now different. That is, they're having a 90% success rate with it. 1 to 5 treatments. It can be done virtually, which I find amazing. All right, well, then there are some people that can't deal with the hand going back and forth in front of your eyes kind of deal. Their eyes just can't track for whatever, because you have to track. Their eyes can't track for whatever reason, and so they're not doing it. And what they're doing, it's called RTM, and that is reconciliation of a traumatic memory. That's a little different. It goes back into, again, the store of the amygdala, and it is not responding like it should. It keeps you in that thing. So the way they describe this is, it's like you go sit in a movie theater by yourself. So it's you in the movie theater by yourself. And on the movie screen is the traumatic event. Again, you don't have to describe it, but you see the traumatic event, right? And then you go up into the screening room where the projector room is, and it's just a mental thing. It's just the way they talk you through this process. You're now looking at it from the outside, and you're now looking at this event from the outside, even though you're seeing you sitting there and how you responded. But now you're seeing it as a memory and not as a physical event that brings you back to that place time after time after time after time. And that is also working with huge success rates, massive amounts of success rate. So that, again, is another alternative to some of the treatments that we're looking at. The thing is that, it and this is a whole nother topic, and we kind of got on it last night in Let's Talk. The thing about it is that these treatments don't allow our politicians to follow the money. Okay, these treatments don't allow the manufacturers of the drug to deal out all this money and say, this is what we're going to use. These treatments, while they're working, nobody's getting paid the big bucks in the political realm to utilize these treatments. So that's why they're not always stacked into a program, because nobody's making that dollar. It's all about that dollar. Follow the money. That's my new key for the day. A stellate ganglion block, that is being done in some cases by the VA. And basically what it is there's a ganglion right here that lets your senses go through. And basically what they do is they put like a Novocaine type deal into there, and that stellate ganglion no longer responds in that traumatic way. And they did it in a blind study. It took 4 years. The first one did not have the success rate, but they did it in 4 years, and they now are finding that the success rate worked. But what they did is they gave some a placebo, and they shot the injection into the muscle, and the other one went into the actual nerve and receptor itself. And where that went in, it was working. But stellate ganglion block, I follow them on Facebook and Instagram as well, but I'll put that link so you can go to their page as well and look at what stellate ganglion block does, and that it is in fact working in so many of our veterans. It basically numbs out that, and it creates that emotion in that piece, that reaction, to go away. And it is working, and they are functioning, and it is an amazing process. So that is also out there. I think for me to start, when I really went in and I started researching these things, and I'm like, let's make them zombies. Let's give them all the stuff that creates suicidal thoughts. I get mad, y'all. I get so mad over so much. It's like the more I dig through, there's times that I just get so angry because this stuff is out there and this stuff we're not allowed to utilize. Couple other places that are phenomenal. Emory University in Atlanta um, does a PTSD program for veterans. They are having massive success rates with it. Shepherd's Clinic also in Atlanta, and a lot of this stuff you're going to find there are grants available to get it at a reduced rate if your private insurance isn't covering it. Shepherd's Clinic in Atlanta, for Sarah, whose husband has a TBI, it is phenomenal what they do at Shepherd. Shepherd, again, is also inpatient for a short time, but they literally teach them how to gain back some of their memory loss. One of the things that I saw, and I think maybe in the next couple of weeks, maybe Stephanie and I will go on a little field trip to Atlanta since she lives there, and I'm gonna go up there and go look at Shepherd and go look at Emory's process head on. I mean, they've already said we could come, but they literally take like a checkerboard tablecloth, you know, like that red and white checkered spring summer tablecloth that we all associate. So they hang it on a board with all this pattern to it, and then they put items on the board, and they teach your TBI veteran how to go in and look at the item and not focus on all the nonsense that's outside. They teach them how to coordinate their walk. Girl, I drive through Atlanta. I used to drive an ambulance through Atlanta. I get us through Atlanta, don't worry. You might need your Xanax though. But they teach them how to refocus and how to reprogram that brain on not seeing all that outside stimulus because it is a true traumatic brain injury. So that is also working, and that's at Shepherd. So we're finding that the research is being done. The research is out there. The programs are out there. The problem is getting into them and using them. I know that Michelle and Damon went to acupuncture and healing touch, and she's going to talk about that later. But how phenomenal that was in calming and soothing, and the program she used, um, maybe the program that she used, they did so many sessions free to the family of the veterans. So this stuff is out there. We're going to start sharing these links because there's a lot of it out there. Um, we're finding, yeah, we'll definitely talk more. That'll be next week about shepherds and the TBI stuff. I'm just kind of giving you like the rundown of what is available. There's so much available that we're missing because we're told, here, take these drugs. Here, take these drugs. They're going to make y'all better. Here you go. Have fun with that. When you follow the drugs, and y'all think I'm kidding, any one of you send me a list of your medicine. I'll tell you the manufacturer, and I can tell you how much money they spent on whose political campaign. Promise you it'll make you sick. Follow the money. These don't create that money. There's another program out there called Warfighter Advance. It's in Maryland. It is created by a woman who has PTSD, who is military, and they get together and they do this kind of retreat thing, and they learn to refocus and how to get their brain together, but they're using peer-to-peer, which is phenomenal. That is in Maryland. That is also a 501c3, and they do a ton of stuff that's going on. You can go there. There's Train a Dog, Save a Warrior, so they know that the support dogs are really working, and so those are just some of the options that are available. Ketamine. Ketamine is the ketamine treatments that they are now using for the TBI is phenomenal, and the PTSD. Basically what they do is they go in and they get an infusion of ketamine, not like we would give ketamine on an ambulance, which actually kind of like makes you go out of it, but they give you, it's titrated back, it's in a very controlled environment. They give you a ketamine infusion, and depending on how it works, you either go 5 days in a row or once every 30 days. But once the ketamine infusion happens, they are seeing results the same day on ketamine. the same day. So that is out there. Mount Sinai is the one who did that study initially, but those treatments are there. We've already talked about the cannabis side. We've already talked about so many things. Peer to peer is another massive thing that is helping. What results are they seeing with the ketamine, Stephanie? With the ketamine, it is stopping that reaction, that explosive reaction, and them getting frustrated, and them being able to communicate, and them being able to be quote normal, literally within hours of receiving the ketamine. Hours. It takes away their anxiety. It is absolutely phenomenal what they're seeing in ketamine. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, these successes. We know that peer-to-peer works. Peer-to-peer works. It has worked forever in AA meetings. We know that being around people who go through the same experiences, even though it may not be exactly the same, we know that peer-to-peer works. It is the 12-step program in peer-to-peer through AA and through NA and through Al-Anon have worked, and they've worked for years and years and years and years, and they know that they work. So peer-to-peer is a big deal. Talking to me when my ex was the addict, he couldn't talk to me about how he felt because I would be judgmental. And ladies, whether we like it or not, we are a little judgmental. Okay, I'm just saying. Right, so they don't want that judging. They want to be with somebody who's done it. That's why Vet Connect is done through the Let's to Live Foundation. It is an app. They put it on their phone. They automatically create their own little community of people that they message and that they talk to. And when they get into a spot, they can talk to another vet. If the program works right, you also can reach out to another veteran who is in their group and say, look, I think that I could go in and say, look, I think Carl's at a stage red. I need some help right now. And you'll get it immediately. The initial, the long-term goal of Vet Connect is that you'll have a troop or a company in your area where they're committed to, if you get to red, that somebody will be at your house in between that yellow and that red, just sit down with your veteran and talk them through it. Where we don't have that ability because it's not nationwide yet. Perfect. We talk about that later because Buddy Up is phenomenal. If you could do that in Atlanta, it would be phenomenal. I'll send you that stuff by Monday. I'm putting realistic goals on me. I went to Prevents yesterday. I get their newsletter. Prevents is download how we can reach coaching tool. It is the same kind of concept. Yeah, I have lots of scroll moments. It is the same kind of concepts, and it is talking about reducing suicide, and you can download an app from Reach. They are part of the Prevents and the VA initiative, and they can also help you, give you your tools to deal with your own when you feel suicidal, those kind of things. But our goal is to create more of things like Buddy Up, where they're together in that one-on-one, like-minded community, so we don't get to this. And that's our ultimate goal. So those are kind of things out there. There's so much stuff out there that we're just not made aware of. We are totally not made aware of when it comes to treatment options. I mean, I don't know about all y'all, but I'm way more into doing art than I am to taking drugs. Not the painting art, although I could do that, but doing the art program, ART, than I am to taking drugs. And what do you have to lose from it? If it works, hello, save your moment. Okay? Now, it's not a cure. Okay? It's not a cure. It's not going to make the PTSD go away. But it's going to help those PTSD moments go from total explosion to being able to live a normal life. specific dates may still affect them. I mean, I think about the day my dad died, and I get sad, and I go into a place, not like a can't function place, but I get to a different place. So dates may still affect them, but their reaction will definitely improve in 90% of the cases. And again, it is truly about following the money. Um, and we got into a very heated discussion last night on Let's Talk about the money. And when you start looking at money and big pharma, get that list of medicines out. Y'all, I'm sending them to me. I just want to know who the manufacturer is. And then I go into a program and it'll tell me how much money they spent in lobbyists and how much money they gave to people's re-election campaign. It is sickening. Yeah, the trauma is never going to go away from the brain. It can be treated and make daily living easier for them, absolutely. And that is so true because the injury is there. The brain injury is there. The thing about a brain that is amazing, and we learned this so much from Shepherd. Shepherd was one of the people at Shepherd's, which is a brain and spine institute. One of the things from Shepherd's was, yes, we may have cut the path from here to here, but through time, we can re-educate the brain to go around it. So some of the things that are damaged in the brain, Shepherd's is learning ways to retrain the brain to go around the damaged area. I know of a young lady who lives in our community who is 16 years old, backing out of her driveway. Well, there's a train track at the end of her driveway, and for whatever reason, and I don't know all the details, she didn't see the train or whatever, and she backed into the path of the train, and the train hit her. And she had horrific brain injury. She rode horses prior to this, like in the rodeo type deal. She did everything. She was healthy, active, running, everything. She was 16 years old. Ended up with a traumatic brain injury. Couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't do anything. She was at Shepherd's for a very long time. They since taught her to walk. They've since taught her to talk. They have helped reprogram a lot of that. She is now riding horses again. She graduated from high school and walked across the stage with the help of her dad. She also graduated from high school with honors. And that was from being at some place like Shepherd that reprograms the brain to go around the damaged area. So it happens. And there is so much success in some of these programs. We just have to get out and find them. And then once we get out and we find them and we're getting our veterans help, because that is obviously the first priority, is we need to go back into the VA and the powers that be and say, if this is working, why am I having to go somewhere else? Why am I having to go somewhere else to get it? Why aren't you sending me this treatment? And the bottom line is follow the dollar. Follow the dollar. Somebody's got to pay for that VA program. They got to pay for the nurses and the doctors and the counselor and the drugs and all the stuff that goes out. Somebody's got to pay for that. It is a corporation within itself. And somebody has to pay for that because, most of our guys don't pay for VA services. So somebody is paying that bill, and it followed the dollar. And that's where you're going to find. So, yeah, they have to have money to fund the program, but what they don't realize is if you get these people treatment that has a 90% success rate after 1 to 5 treatments, they're not going to be going into your system every day. So you're freeing up your system. You're not spending the money like you used to on different things. Now you can focus on some other things that really matter. Like whether or not to put a shunt into somebody's brain. Because, we can't do that because we don't have all the funding we need for something else. Well, hello, let's get a treatment that works relatively inexpensively and get them out of the system and free up the system for something else. But it's all about dollars. It's all about the money. And unfortunately, which I have learned from the water thing, and I have learned from the letters about the VA failure of care, and I have learned from so much, is that as a whole, the government in this country doesn't give 2 shits about our veterans. And it is obvious because when there are these kind of treatments out there that are making a difference with this level of success, And they're not getting a drug, y'all. They're not getting a drug. So if the ganglion, if art doesn't work, okay, we tried it, it doesn't work, great, move on. But for those that work without having to spend another dime, I don't know about you, but I kind of do that math from a business perspective. I used to take companies that were in the red and make them run in the black. That would be the very first thing I'd be hiring people to do. I'd be like, next, it's treating you, move on. We no longer have to spend the money on drugs. Hallelujah, thank goodness. But it's all about money. And our veterans are guinea pigs due to the money. It's a money game. Oh, y'all, I'm gonna get kicked off Facebook. So when I do, we'll be on the YouTube channel because you know that I'm calling people out. We're gonna be kicked off of the Facebook. But it's the truth. Follow the money. Um, and our veterans are being treated like guinea pigs and like they don't matter when there are perfectly good treatments out here that work, and they work every single day, and they're working for people every day, but nobody wants to acknowledge it. I am going to participate in the art program to help alleviate some of my PTSD from EMS. And oh, girl, you don't know how many times I've done been kicked off or threatened for the whole Facebook comments. Amazing. I got kicked out of our own group. I had to use Carl to log in to our own freaking group that I own. It was hysterical. I could get into my Facebook page and onto this page, but I couldn't get into the group for like 5 days because I was blocked from the group because I made some comment. I don't care, because the truth has to come out. But you know, I'm gonna take art, so I can't wait to see what it is. Oh, I know, girl, Facebook jail. They're gonna keep me there forever. But it makes me sick, and it makes me very sad, and I have cried more tears emotionally over realizing that these are the men and women who stand on that line and have mortars go off and gunshots go off and do things. And for the military spouses, we're the ones whose families ripped apart at any given moment, and who sit there the whole time they're deployed and try not to watch the news, but the news comes into our life, and you see some big explosion, and you wonder if your veteran's the one, your service member who's the one who's there, and you don't get a break. You're dealing with the kids, and you're dealing with your life, and you're dealing with the stuff, and nobody comes in to be your savior when all that's happening, and then they pop back in, and then your life is completely disrupted. As much as you want them to be home, your life is disrupted, and then they go back out, and then they don't tell you about what happens, and it's like two strange ships passing in the night trying to live in the same house. And then you get out, and every resource you ever had isn't there anymore. It is gone. It's like evaporating. You move to another planet, and we don't have the resources now, and we have to fight and struggle for everything there is. And yeah, it was tough. And for what? So many people gave up so much for them to be a guinea pig and not give them the treatment they deserve. I think that's probably what makes me angriest. And nobody really cares other than the veteran community. And I think we get so tired of fighting sometimes that we don't. But let me tell you something. You get all these veterans families and these veteran communities together, we have an amazing voice. And we have to know that we're not fighting alone anymore. And that, I think, is key. We have to know that we're not fighting alone anymore. And it's time we stand back up for what our guys deserve and women deserve. They did so much. So it's just one of those things. Look, I don't even want to talk to you, Miss Stephanie, who the phones go down. When my ex-husband was in the Navy, we had to get prepaid phone cards, and I could only talk to him when he was in port. There was no email from the ship every day. There was no phone from wherever every day. We, in the 6 months he was gone, we talked to each other 3 times. It was like what it was. So anyway, I know that kind of got a little off topic, but I just want y'all to know there's so much out there. So much more out there, and we are diligently working on resources every day. I will put these out there for y'all to look at. Do your own research. Again, I encourage everybody to do your own research. I can't endorse anything because I'm not the paid professional. You got to find what's right for you and your veteran. You got to be the one to stand up and say this works. You got to be the one to say this doesn't. It's a personal choice, you know, and what works for you um, won't work for me. I love you. We had delayed letters too. I still got letters buried under the volcanic ash in Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines. It's funny. You got to find what works for you, and works for your veteran, and works for your family. But there is so much out there that we have not been told about. EMDR is available. We're going to really talk about EMDR next week. And so that everybody understands what EMDR is. EMDR either works or it doesn't. And sometimes when you're doing EMDR, it puts you into a way darker place. So those are just one of the treatments that there is available. But you have to understand the pros and the cons of EMDR. And EMDR is offered by the VA. So there are some pros and cons in those treatments when we start talking about brain injuries and TBI. And we'll get into the nuts and the bolts of each treatment and kind of what they do and where they put them. And we're going to look at success rates and failure rates. And are they coming off of the drugs if they do EMDR? Because I think that is something that is key to a lot of us and even to our veterans is how many of the 30 drugs can I come off of if EMDR works? And if you're doing EMDR and you're already on a ton of medications, how effective is it? So those are a lot of the things that we kind of have to balance out in our lives when we're looking at treatments. All right, y'all, I've been later than I need to be. I want everybody to have a blessed day. Have a great weekend. You know, at some point, I'm sure I'll pop on. I know that I'm doing an Aaron Brockovich at 1 o'clock today on our group about PFAS and the crap in the water. So there's a lot going on, as usual. I'll get these links on in a minute. I'm going to go finish my coffee and have some breakfast with the love of my life. Y'all be blessed. Have a great weekend. This is Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we're loving my better.